What's up, Gator fans? Today's video is going to be a little different, and with how things have gone, it certainly feels like UF is about to make a coaching change. So let's talk about what the talking heads are saying in today's video presented by BetUS. So let's get into it. Josh Pate went on Crain and Company recently and was asked about Lane Kiffin and whether or not he would go to UF. Now, I didn't want to do this video at first because I really wanted to see things turn around under Napier. But I do think that ship has essentially sailed. So that's why I'm doing it now. I thought Josh's answer was pretty interesting. Let's listen to it, and then we're going to talk about it.
In a heartbeat, Lane Kiffin would walk to Florida if they would give him the job. This is not a debate. Look, I've got Ole Miss people in my very close social circle, and they fight me on this. They're like, what can you do at Florida that you can't do at Ole Miss? Win a national championship is what you can do there. And you can consistently be a player there. Contrary to what people believe about Ole Miss, that is still a build multiple years to a peak kind of program, a window program, as I call them. They're not sustained year in and year out. This is not that caliber of program. Florida can be. Now, in a heartbeat, Lane Kiffin would.
Now, I want to share my thoughts on this, but first, I appreciate BetUS for their support. Remember our code when you're betting on Monday Night Football or college football this weekend. Get a 150% deposit bonus when you use the code YouTube150. That's up to $2,000. Your second and third deposits are still at 125% deposit bonus. I appreciate BetUS for their support, so make sure you guys go ahead and check them out. Okay, so now here are my thoughts. Would the boosters go for it? I know that back in the day when Urban Meyer was our coach and Lane Kiffin was at Tennessee for that, year before he left them for USC, there was a little bit of bad blood there. He was a little bit disrespectful towards Meyer and just kind of had that flippant, arrogant Kiffin attitude. But back then, he hadn't earned anything, right? He was Monty's son that was kind of given the keys to the kingdom, born on third base. I don't think that that's what he is anymore. I think that he now has that Steve Spurrier brashness, but he has the resume to go with it. So even if the boosters weren't pumped about it at the beginning, I think that they could come around to Lane. I do think the administration might be a little harder sell there. I think that the UAA prefers a little bit more buttoned up coach. I think that they tolerate Spurrier's brashness because he won a lot, but I don't know that they love the idea of getting into the habit of hiring coaches that are a little bit mouthy and a little bit off the cuff. But I think it'd be exactly what they need. I think Lane Kiffin as, a motivator to get the UAA to do things that are cutting edge would be huge. I think back to that press conference where I think Ole Miss had just lost a game and and Kiffin essentially said, listen, guys, we're going to need you to donate some money if you want us to be able to win games like this. The difference between us and them is that they have more NIL than we do. If you'd like to contribute, I bet we could win more ball games. And you know what happened? Ole Miss's NIL fund went nuts. And it went nuts with lots of smaller donations because the fans heard that message and they responded to it. I think that that's something Florida needs. I think Florida needs a coach that is willing to not just be a yes man. Would the fan base go for it? Abso-freaking-lutely. Have you looked at social media? I think people would be thrilled for Lane Kiffin. I think we want someone with some fire, some passion, some energy, some fun offense. I think Gator Nation would be over the moon with the Lane Kiffin hiring. Now, would the administration, so the UAA, give Lane what he needs to be successful? TBD on that, right? I do think that they gave Coach Napier everything he asked for when he came to the University of Florida. I think Napier really had to massage the NIL situation, and I don't know that I believe the UAA is still fully on board with NIL. They would have to get on board for Lane Kiffin to be able to come here because Ole Miss is fully on board, and Kiffin knows what that looks like, and I think he would demand nothing less. I do think that they would give him everything that they gave Napier if not more, right? And I think next year with the universities being able to be involved in the money aspect of NIL, that there's a good chance he could get UF to commit to giving real dollars there, and that would show their seriousness about football. Now, that would have to happen, though, for Lane to be willing to come to us. I think he would need the promise of NIL being fully embraced before he signed on that dotted line. So there would need to be some wholesale changes in the UAA's approach to NIL. If somebody comes to you with $1 million and says, hey, UAA, where's the best place for me to donate? What they need to be saying is our NIL fund, not our stadium fund, not our building fund, not to have a plaque hung in your honor, our NIL fund. Will they do that? I don't know, but I think it's what is necessary to be successful, and it's absolutely necessary to land Lane Kiffin. And would it work? I don't know. But I'll tell you what's not working, and that's what Coach Napier is doing right now. I think the idea of Lane Kiffin with DJ Lagway in his offense is really enticing. I also think that UF is an offense and a defensive line away from being able to be really successful. I think if Kiffin can work the transfer portal magic that he's been able to get done at Ole Miss for Florida's offense and defensive line, he could win immediately. This cupboard is not bare. Coach Napier has done a decent job recruiting. I think our high school classes have been commendable. I think he's had some major hits in the transfer portal. I think where they are lacking the most is the trenches. So if Kiffin can work some of that portal magic and land some guys for both lines, I think he has the possibility to win 9 games year one. Jake Crain then followed up Pate's thoughts by saying he didn't think Lane would come to UF. And here's why.
I do want to say, Josh, we actually disagree here, and that's great. I think Lane, first off, this has got the Jimmy Sexton special written all over it. All over it. If he was my agent, I'd be telling him, hey, tell Florida I'm interested. You know what? Tell everybody you know that I'm interested, because that's going to... Ole Miss got money. Like, Ole Miss has got, like, old money. So I'm going to drive that price up. My thing for Lane is this, and we were talking about this with Bill O'Brien. I think you heard us at the beginning. I actually think it would take a lot for Lane to leave for a couple reasons. You've had the big brand jobs before, and those went down in flaming disasters at the end. Remember how it went down at USC? Tennessee, they fired him on the tarmac. At Ole Miss right now, I think there's more potential at Florida. That's not the argument. I agree with you 100%. But now you're at Ole Miss, and you have gotten Ole Miss. One, you can act how you want to on social media. You're the king of the city. You are the golden goose, whatever you want to call it. You can do it however you want. You've got the money, the NIL, and you're now showing people, and Ole Miss is becoming a sexier brand, right? Nothing is cooler in fashion. They're like, oh, why are people wearing stuff they were wearing in the 80s? Well, that's because it's cyclical. Maybe this is Ole Miss's turn in the cycle in the SEC to show, hey, man, we won 11 games last year. Now we're looking like we're going to be a playoff team and we can make a run. You can come to Ole Miss and win big. It just seems so ready-built for Lane, and I think he's kind of over it. But in the coaching world, you never know what's going to happen.
So I don't think Jake is wrong on some of his points. I think that Ole Miss does have old money. I do think that Kiffin can do no wrong there. And obviously, he's got a very long leash of what he's allowed to say and do on social media and in public. But I do think Ole Miss has a ceiling that Florida doesn't have. I think that you can win championships at UF. I don't know that I believe that can happen at Ole Miss. And I think Lane Kiffin could win between 8 and 10, 11 games a year, every year for the rest of his life, make whatever money he demanded from Ole Miss, have all the co-eds he wants in one of the best college towns in America. I think that could work. I just also think that Lane Kiffin is a cocky son of a gun who wants to prove that he can win it all, that wants to prove that he can go anywhere and be successful. I do think UF has better facilities. Believe it or not, I think UF has better booster support. And I think UF knows what it takes to win. They've been there before. So I honestly think Kiffin's ego and wanting to prove to the world what he is capable of, which I do think he's capable of, is what will make UF such an enticing pick for him. So what are your thoughts? If the season plays out as poorly as it's looking like it's going to play out, and Napier is dismissed from the UF head coaching role, which I do think is going to happen soon, do you think Lane Kiffin makes sense? I don't think I'm ready to do a hot board just yet. And again, I have wanted things all along to work out for Napier. I just don't know at this point if that's possible. And I do really find the speculation around all of this incredibly interesting. And I'm guessing you guys do too. Thank you all for tuning in today. And thanks to BetUS for their support. And as always, go Gators.